Welcome.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Melanated Hypothesis Podcast. I'm the guest, Victoria, that's the host. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Today, we're going to heal ourselves. She's going to ask me some questions. I'm going to ask her some questions. We're going to have a great conversation. We're going to fix ourselves, and then fixing ourselves, we're going to help you fix yourself. You ready to get it, Victoria?
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
So, you have to introduce yourself because we don't know who you are.
Okay. As you can see, my IG says my name is at Forward Jones. That's not the name my mama calls me. She calls me David Jones. She also calls my dad David Jones, so I am a junior. What I do is I own a couple businesses. Number one, my primary business is Forward Solutions, so that's where that name comes from. Hit me up on IG. And what we do in that business is we are a supply chain consultancy. We help manufacturers supercharge their business through collaboration and effective partnerships. The second business I operate is E2E Coach. That's E2E number two, E number two, E Coach.com, where I help engineers become entrepreneurs by leveraging their technical backgrounds.
So, are you an engineer?
Always. I got my degree around here somewhere. I don't know where it's at. So I spent 10 years, 10, 12 years, something like that, working as a professional manufacturing engineer in the sheet metal industry specifically. So what I did was I left my job a couple years ago. I won't go into all those details, but the long and short of it is I was able to start my business Forward Solutions earlier this year in February, leveraging my expertise in turning around manufacturing facilities using kind of my unique approach and my ability to form effective partnerships and relationships with other people to start my own business, helping those businesses do what I'm already great at. And that is, how can we collaborate to solve problems and scale our businesses more quickly, with less cost, and with less risk?
Mm.
And then E2E coaches, so many people are hitting me up all the time. Hey, David, how did you do that? I might as well coach you how to do it, right? So that one was kind of more natural, having achieved some success this year in my business, becoming a multiple six-figure earner, my first full year in this particular business. I want to help 100 people, 1,000 people do that next year.
Let's go. You got it. We're going to make it happen.
For sure. How
So,
about you,
let me
Victoria?
ask
Tell me about you. Tell me about you. I want to ask some questions.
you. Okay.
What you
Tell
got,
you.
Bubba? Tell me about it.
Well, I am the host of the Melanated Hypothesis. So, that is the biggest thing that I'm doing. But I also am the owner of LLegacy Solutions. That's legacy with two L's because we need to get solutions. We're healing over here, but then once we get healed, we got to heal our credit. We got to figure out financial literacy. We need to walk through those steps and know it ourselves and not have someone else telling us what to do.
Mm,
I think that that's one of the biggest parts of breaking conditioning
hmm
is asking questions, not just allowing someone to tell us what to do, but learning that information and that skill for ourselves.
Right. I love it.
So
That's amazing.
yeah, and then I got the dog business. Everybody knew me as the dog lady. I have a dog boarding business. I'm house sitting, and I live in hotels, so I'm always house sitting in a city near you.
Lit. I love it.
So I have so many questions I want to get into. I just got to get into you a little bit. So
1 second. Just so y'all know, me and Victoria just met last week at a networking event, and we had like a hour and a half long conversation. So we instantly became good friends. Just so y'all know.
yeah.
So this is all gonna be a surprise. We still get to know one another. So let's get it. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm charged
Okay.
up. I'm motivated.
All right. So take me back to when you decided where did you come from originally?
Geographically,
Hmm.
I grew up in northeast Arkansas from a town, Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's about an hour, 72 miles northwest of Memphis, Tennessee. So if you know where Memphis is, you'll know where I'm from.
Sowsville.
Yeah. Jonesboro.
Hmm. Oh no,
Jonesboro.
I was saying Soulville for Memphis.
Oh yeah, for sure. So a lot of great music out of that area. Al Green is from like 40 minutes from where I'm from. He used to preach at my church when I'm a kid, so that's where I'm from.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
all that history. You from all that history.
for sure. So that's where I grew up. I moved to from let's see here, Arkansas, Mississippi, New York State, North Carolina, Austin, Texas. Now I live in Dallas, Texas.
What? How old were you when you moved out of Arkansas?
22
What would you say was the most impactful lesson you learned there?
in Arkansas.
Yeah, before branching out to other cities.
Okay. So I'm a full time entrepreneur now, and I have amazing parents. I was very
Mhm.
blessed in that regard. Amazing in that they really gave me a lot of space to explore myself and figure out what I want to do and what I'm good at. So when before I left home, my mom's been in business at this point for over 40 years. She's a hairdresser. My grandmother's been in business for over 60 years. She's also a hairdresser. Uh, Random tidbits used to do Hillary Clinton's hair back in the day when Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas. Whether you like him or not, I'm not here to talk about that. Interesting tidbit. Um, so growing up seeing that, they allowed me to start my first business at 10 years old, pushing
Mm,
lawnmowers around the neighborhood by myself. So when I left, I had like a really strong sense of independence and drive that served me well through college and my early career.
mm,
And my dad also,
okay.
I can't leave my dad out. I don't want this to be one of them things. So my dad, that's definitely like the man that I look up the most to in life. He's been on the same job for 44 years at this point. So my dad really taught me about consistency, hard work, being a man who takes care of his family, and he also always has some kind of side hustle going on. So just that work ethic and that sense of responsibility for myself and my family. Yeah, I got to give all that to my dad. That came from him.
Mm, okay. So tell me one lesson your dad taught you as far as being a man that helped you
Uh,
that you
okay.
carry with you.
My dad, when I was coming up, I didn't grow up with that. My dad grew up without his parents. They were alive, but they had their own issues and mental issues and just traumas from their childhoods they had to deal with. So they weren't physically nor emotionally available for him as much as they could have been. And something my dad decided was that for his kids, they would not experience that. So my dad may not have been able to talk to me about a lot of things because he has his own things he has to work through. My dad was always there, and that's stuck with me. And that is to when you make a commitment to your family that you're going to be there to support them. And I know we're going to touch on this later on. I'm gonna be there for them, but I don't have to internalize it. We'll touch on that later, I'm sure. But just being there for them and like having that sense of self to say I want to put myself to the side and what I want to do what I need to do for my family and for myself right
Mm. Okay, so you said we're gonna touch on it later. Touch on it now.
now. Okay. One thing I learned from my dad, I'm a lot like my dad. Like I'm his mirror. And earlier in my life, I was not able to express myself like I can now. I
Hmm.
may come across as like an extroverted person, but I'm pretty to myself most of the time. That's how I like to be because it takes up so much energy for me to be on like this. So when I was younger, I was really just into myself, like feeling a certain way, holding on to my feelings, being sad, depressed chronically because I couldn't express to people, hey, I feel this way. I didn't know how to set boundaries. I didn't know how to say no. So that's one of those things. Seeing my dad, I had a mother that would tell me how she felt, what was going on. I had a dad who never said anything other than "I love you and I'm there for you." So to me, that's what a man does. A man loves you and he's there for you. Nobody care what I got going on. But he also never made me feel guilty about crying or saying, Dad, I'm sad. So I got both sides, but he wasn't able to tell me how to do that in a different way because he didn't know how to do it a different way. That's after years of therapy I got to that point, but I can say that like I held on to that so much and for so long. I identified with those traits, and those traits are not who I am. It's just a trait, and I can change traits without changing who I am.
So who okay. First of all, who would you say you are
Who am I?
without those traits? What is your core?
I'm happy, humble, and motivated.
Mm, okay. So how do you tell the difference between your traits and who you are?
Your traits are here's something I love to tell people. Your experiences and your circumstance are not who you are. That's just something that's happening to you, or that's how you're expressing something, but that's not who you are. I am happy. I don't like confrontation because that doesn't make me happy. I don't like to be stressed. That doesn't make me happy. I like to be at peace at all costs. And I fought that for, I'm 33, I fought that for probably 30 years, not being me. And when I started to be me, all that stress started to melt away. Number two, I'm humble. Now, I'm going to express, and I'm still learning this, I'm working through this now. How can I express to you where I am and be confident in who I am? But I'm not telling you to down you or to put you down. I'm telling you this is just who I am. I'm humble about it, and that I don't think I'm better than you. I'm just equipped with a different set of natural skills or developed skills and inclinations than you may have.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna stand in my strength. And that's true humility. I don't think humility is putting yourself down. Humility is saying, hey, I'm really good at one thing. If there's 100 things we can be good at, I'm good at one. I suck at the rest. But I know it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna fake and flodge for you. This is where I'm at. This is who I am. And when I say I'm motivated, is that what I want to do is I'm a very goal striving, goal oriented person. Like, don't get me wrong, I chill heavy, but at the same time, I want to be feeling that I'm making progress. I need to be doing things each day, just one thing even, that's making progress towards my goals. If I can be happy, humble, motivated, that's who I am. I'm a full, whole, happy person at that point.
Do you feel like you're whole now?
Uh, I, hmm, this is the wholest I've ever felt. So if I'm thinking from relative terms, yeah. Do I know I'm going to get better? Absolutely. Am I going to discover myself better? Absolutely.
So when did you um, discover emotional intelligence?
Emotional intelligence. Maybe you can ask that question in a more specific and thorough way.
Okay, so for example, you were talking about how your dad taught you how to love and be there, but how did you get those other emotions? How did you discover what your emotions were telling you about yourself?
I had to have a mental breakdown. That's how it started. And not like I rolled up in the bed, but like I had to go to the emergency room. I had to be out of work for 6 weeks. Mental breakdown at 23 years old, 24, something like that.
Can you share what happened?
Absolutely. So I leave Arkansas. My first job out of college, I'm working for a company in Mississippi. I'm having a ball. I'm just having fun the first year. Another random tidbit: the HR manager at that plant was my uncle, and we didn't know each other, but he's married to my aunt, my great aunt. So, needless to say, I had a lot of people looking out for me in my job. So I was just having a good time because there was only upside for me in that environment. There was no
Hmm.
downside. So then I left that environment. So growing up in a very kind of supportive household in a lot of regards. Not to say that we all have traumas and things that happen from our childhood because our parents can't do it perfect because they got their own stuff and you just can't do it perfect. But anyway,
Hmm.
I'm in this environment where I really can't do any wrong. I can change my mind whenever I want to. I go to college where you're like being an adult, but you live in a bubble. So I'm still out here partying, making bad grades, but I'm a likable person. So people looking out for me. I get to this first job, same thing. I get to this second job. I moved to New York. I don't know a single person. I'm nobody there. And I'm in this environment, you know, racism, these things are real. Biases that people have, these things are real. So I'm in this environment for the first time in my life where I cannot excel just being who I am.
Who
And I
you've
start
been.
shifting my personality. I start shifting how I interact with the world. I start shifting the way that I think, and it was too much for me. So I'm at work one day. I'm having chest pains. I'm like, I'm 23. I'm having a heart attack. I'm about to clock out of here. Let me go tell the nurse. They sent me to the emergency room, and the nurse that sees me, she says, "Why are you feeling this way?" I said, I'm gonna start a new job. She said, "If you have a job that makes you feel that way, you should quit." But I'm also coming from a background that says my dad's been in his job for 44 years. He was there for 30 something years at the time. You
Mm.
gotta stick with it. You gotta follow through. Don't let these people stress you. Pray about it. Pray it'll go away. So it's not registering to me that that's an option. So I'm trying to muscle through. Fast forward maybe another 60 days. Forgive me, it's been 10 years, so all these time frames aren't as crystal clear as they used to be. So I'm laying in bed. I can't get out of bed. I'm at work, hiding out in the bathroom for 3, 4 hours a day because I ain't trying to deal with this. Crying, sitting there. Man, that boy, he showed me on that pot a lot. Yeah, yeah. I'm just in there crying. Y'all better leave me alone. So, um, needless to say, I go see a psychiatrist. I'm having a full out meltdown, breakdown at this point. And she says, "David, you're bipolar." I had never heard this in my life. I'm like, I'm not bipolar. That's for crazy people. And I'm not crazy because there's nothing wrong with me. But then she showed me the videos. She explained to me what is being bipolar means. It means that for me, it meant that I have this depression. I have some chemical imbalances in my mind and in my body. It may be, there's a certain natural kind of thing that's always there. I'm predisposed to that. But now I'm in this environmental situation that sent me over the edge.
Mm.
So she's teaching me coping mechanisms that ain't working. She hit me these drugs that ain't working. So I'm just out of work for 6 weeks. Right. So then I leave that experience. I go back to work. I'm like, this ain't working. I find another job and I move to North Carolina. And that kind of really starts, in my opinion, getting that diagnosis because now I have something to say that it's not it's not the environment, it's not me, it's this thing that's going on in my head. So now it's not my fault.
Mhm.
It kind of let me off the hook. But it started a whole different series of problems, but it did let me off the hook. It really started my healing journey to where I can stand here today and be in a different space. And I don't need all those other things. And my life is so much simpler.
What What do you think brought you to that place of um acceptance when she said that? Like, did you accept
I'm not
that
gonna
right
lie,
off the bat?
not at first, because I'm watching TV, the internet, the movies, and when somebody bipolar, like they cutting people up, they shooting up the place. I don't do that. I'm peaceful. People like me. I can't be crazy. What are you talking about? So that's where I was at. And it took me a week. When she said I could take off work and I could get paid, oh yeah, I accepted that real quick.
I'm a little crazy. You said you called bipolar? Yeah.
I'm about to go let these folks know right away.
Just give me the letter. Just,
Yeah,
yeah, I fully understand that.
yeah.
But okay, so do you think that you used it as a crutch after a while or in the beginning?
No, that became who I was. So that's where I really started to develop that philosophy that this label, this situation, this experience is not who I am. So I started to identify as a bipolar. I wasn't a person living with bipolar. I was a bipolar person. And as subtle as
Hmm.
that seems for me, that's two different things.
Hmm.
So I started being like really passive. I
Can
started
you
really
explain the difference?
sure. So today I am a person who is diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I've learned skills that help me manage that disorder. So it's kind of like, for me, what that means is, okay, for me, I know I have to get a certain amount of rest every day. I have to get at least 7 hours. I'm going to do that no matter what. Because if I don't do that, I'm going to slide into either depression or a mania, and then I'm in the loop. And that takes me
Mm.
6 to 12 months to work out of that. And all I got to do is sleep 7 hours a day. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I need to manage my stress. So for me, is being an entrepreneur for me is not stressful. Being an employee for me is very stressful because I'm not in control of my time. I don't like people telling me what to do. I like to tell myself what I'm gonna do, and I'm cool if I lose all my money in this journey because I did what I wanted to do. But it took me time to understand it, and what's for me is not for everybody else. I have a lot of um, part of being bipolar is having like grandiose visions of yourself. So when I was younger,
Mhm.
I thought I was that guy. Every idea is definitely headed to the top. That's why I started so many businesses. Between 10 and 18, I started at least probably 15 businesses. Oh, yeah.
Mm.
I'm about to be rich. It's going to work out. Don't know nobody else know how to push the lawnmower like me. It's about to be lit. So it's like, it's laughable, but that's what's going on really in my head, right? So, anyway, back to your original question. Now that I have coping mechanisms, I have strategies to manage the situation. Bipolar
Mhm.
is external to me. So if you notice, I'm happy, humble, motivated. I'm not bipolar, David. That's not the same thing. If I don't manage this, then I become this other person. I refuse to become that person.
How did
That's
you figure out what you needed to manage?
a trial and error, going to therapy, going to psychiatrists, doing research. And like for me, I noticed that when we all have, I think, loops. Even if you're not struggling with a diagnosed mental illness or deficiency, however you want to call it, right? But being that, for me, here's my loop. I'm running through my life. I'm happy. I'm at my baseline of I'm not too happy. I'm not sad, but I'm actually like my baseline is I'm a pretty happy person. That is my true baseline. So I'm going through life, everything good, and then I hit stress. When I hit stress, I stop sleeping. When I stop sleeping, I start drinking too much. When I start drinking too much, I start doing all kinds of like erratic, poor decisions, whether that's like financial decisions with my physical or sexual health when I was younger, before I was married, just making poor decisions all around. And then I'm depressed. And then I'm still doing all those other things, so my health is deteriorating, my mental state. So now I'm more depressed. And then I hit rock bottom. And then I got to take drugs, or I have to go to therapy, or I have to take off work, right? It's the same pattern. I start noticing, oh, this happens every time, but it all starts from I didn't get enough sleep. So if I get enough sleep, even if it's just laying in bed and saying, oh, man, this is stressful, but I'm going to go to sleep. Well, if I get enough rest, I can probably think about it more clearly the next day. It probably wasn't as bad as I thought. I'm not sitting up all night ruminating about what happened earlier today or last week or last month or last year. I'm just going to sleep. And that sounds easy, but it took me a long time, a lot of work to get to that point. We talked last week. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna hear what you got to say. I'm gonna go home and go to sleep. I ain't gonna worry about it. And you can think I'm nice or you can think I'm the devil. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's how you feel. That's not how I feel about it.
Mhm.
So for me, it's just managing my rest. If I'm doing a business transaction or interaction with a client or a customer or an employee, and it's just giving me anxiety, not like that tension that propels you forward, but that anxiety that starts shutting you down, and I'm going into my shell and it's crippling. That's my body telling me that that's not for me. So I have to be strong enough. I have to be cognizant enough to know that hey, this is happening. This is how I feel, and then I have to be strong enough to say, you know what, you are all right person and all that, but you're not for me, or you're not for me in this situation. I have to now set a boundary that says, Hey, we can go to happy hour, we can go to lunch, but we can't do business together. Or I
Right.
can say, if that doesn't work for you or doesn't work for me, I just don't like your energy. You're not a bad person, but we're just not for each other. Because I know I can be terse. I fought that. Like, I'm gonna get straight to the point. I'm gonna tell you that, yeah, I hear you, but I disagree. I'm not gonna feel no way about it. And I used to fight that, but now I'm like, I don't feel no way about it. I hate you, David. That's cool. Have a good day. Goodbye. But it took a
So,
long time to get there.
right. Okay, no, that's interesting because once you're in that place of okay, before you got to that place of knowing yourself and having that identity, um, how were your relationships?
Chaotic.
Give me an example.
How far back do you want to go? What relationship do you want me to describe? Because they all about the same. So just pick one and I'll
I mean, okay, so just romantic relationships. How are you interacting with people when you were unhealed or when you were unaware of healing?
I was very passive aggressive. So it could be something simple, right? Like, I like let's say I like this brand of water. And you bring me a different brand of water. I'm gonna say thank you so much. In the back of my mind think, you raggedy MF for you, I don't like that damn water. But I ain't gonna say nothing. Okay. I'm gonna keep score. So this person going through thinking, and they gonna bring me the same water next week because I said thank you. Instead of say, hey, I appreciate you, but I like different water. So that was my way of keeping score and making sure that in my mind and my way of keeping score, that my score was always ahead. But because it was always heading to the same point. And that was you're gonna do something small and I'm gonna decide that I'm over it and I'm moving on. I did it several times, wake up, hey, I don't like you no more. So this ain't gonna work. Bye. We just went on a date yesterday. Yeah, 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 I love you yesterday, but I don't love you no more today. I'm out of here. And to me, that was a normal way to process things. A very normal way to process things. I thought that's how everybody did it. So it's
So
like that's
when
love.
did you see
That
that?
was, huh?
When did you see that pattern?
When I met my wife, to be honest. So I started dating my wife. So I'm not. This is before I'm diagnosed with anything. So I think I'm cool. I'm normal. Ain't nothing wrong with me. It's something wrong with everybody else. So we were talking one day, and she asked me a question. It's like the third time she asked me the same question. And keep in mind, I keep score, so that means my memory is really good. I remember everything. So I'm like, man, if you ask me this damn question one more time, I'm out of here, bro. So she asked me the question one more time. I was like, I can't do this. You keep asking me the same damn question. So she says, so what does that? Why does that mean you have to leave? I said, because this ain't gonna work, and that's just that. And she needed to know why. She's like, so first of all, we're still dating, we're still together, and okay, I need to write this down. This bothers you. Cool. I won't ask you no more. And I had never been in a relationship where it was just like, oh, you can actually seek a resolution that's not thinking in absolute terms of we have no problems or I don't want to do it. If one problem is all problems, therefore I don't want to do it. So I had to learn balance. I still struggle with thinking balance because my initial is to this is going to be great or it's nothing. I have to remind myself that there's all this beautiful gray in the middle that a situation can exist in that's normal and healthy and productive and balanced for everybody involved.
So how you create boundaries? What does that look like?
Um, I actually went to therapy about this last year, and this is what I discovered. Before I met my wife, I had very porous boundaries. So for those of you who don't know what that means I didn't know how to say no at all. Can you help me? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got you. I got you. Can you stop what you're doing? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got you. I got you. I did it every time. But then when another person doesn't have porous boundaries, right? I receive that as rejection. I
Hmm.
receive that as you don't care about me. And when in reality, they're just a normal person with boundaries. It's like, yeah, I would love to help you, but I'm busy right now. Whereas I'm trying to run around and do everything for everybody before. So what setting a healthy boundary is now is number one, before we even get to boundaries, and I was just on a live early on IG about this, access, right? So just because I have a conversation with you or I allow you to ask me a question, that doesn't mean you have access to me. You have access to my information or maybe a little bit of time, but not me. And me is my emotional energy. So you can ask me a question and you just have access to the answer right now. That's all you got, not me. Not yet. I get to decide that. So you say, like for instance, if you would have told me, I need you to be on this podcast at 12 noon, or I eat lunch at 12 noon, so no can do. But I'll give you two times that do work for me. Does that work for you? If not, can you provide a counter? Because I eat lunch every day at this time, or I can share my calendar with you. Whereas before I would have said, yeah, I just want to eat lunch. I'm gonna go hungry today. Now I'm gonna be on here grumpy or whatever. Or if next week, let's say I'm not grumpy, I hit you, hey Victoria, I need you to can you do this for me right now? Oh no, I'm busy. Now I'm gonna be in my feelings because I didn't set a boundary, and you have a healthy boundary for yourself. That's not your fault. That's on me. So now I
Mm.
decide that what's important to me. Who am I? So I have a mentor. He calls it static. And static is like that anxiety inside of you when you're about to do something that tells you, like, I don't feel good about this. I don't want to do that. And we live in a society, a lot of us, especially us, that says, oh, you just got to get over your fear. And there's productive anxiety and then there's debilitating anxiety. So when it's that static, which is debilitating, that's letting you know that your boundaries are being violated. So now I listen to that. So if someone comes, oh yeah, David, I love what you're doing. I want to be in business with you. Okay, what do you have to offer? Nothing. I just want to be involved. Hmm, that's giving me a little anxiety. I don't. This is not that. Oh man, this is a challenge to overcome. This is that I'm about to waste a lot of time and I know it, but I'm gonna create a story around it that makes it okay because I want to be perceived as a good person.
Mm.
So now what I'll say is, I really appreciate you, offering that to me. I appreciate you seeing that gift or that thinking so highly of me, but I just don't think that's going to be a good fit because I'm on my path right now and I have a plan, and this is not part of my path and my plan. And
Mhm.
a person who can that respects you and who loves you, they're going to understand that. They're going to say, "Oh, I get it. Maybe we can do lunch next week." A person that's going to have a meltdown and make you feel bad about respecting yourself, let them get it out. They're going to get it out anyway, but you don't have to listen. You could just walk off because they're not for you anyway. You're not missing anything because you're going to get into a situation and get your feelings hurt. Not most of the time, every time, because that's how it works. That is not for you and you're not for them. And that's a boundary. That's a healthy, assertive boundary.
Mhm.
A rigid boundary is everybody out to get me or everybody's great. More so, that's more of a porous. A rigid would be everybody's out to get me. Ain't nobody worth anything. No one can do this as well. Like you're never letting anyone in to help you. So now
Mhm.
you're isolated. I've never experienced that myself, right? Because I had extremely porous boundaries, but now I have healthy, assertive boundaries. But I've met people, a lot of times people with porous boundaries, they interact with people with very rigid boundaries because a person with rigid boundaries lets you know where they stand and where they are. And a person with porous boundaries, you know that you can bend over backwards and do everything for them, and that's how you experience love, and that's how they experience love. So you're a fit, but eventually it leads to discord because the rigid person, they ain't worried about you like that. They're worried about them. So you're spending all your energy worried about them instead of yourself. And a lot of that stemmed from my childhood of some of my earliest examples of what that meant was I was always trying to bend over backwards for other people and repress how I felt and repress what I want. So as an adult, I'm still processing this as that little 5-year-old boy
Mhm.
until my later 20s.
So what did you need in your later 20s? What had to be said to the little boy?
I'm grown now, and you can go to recess. So it was just like this epiphany. Actually, I'll be honest with you. Like I've always wanted to be where I am right now, just running my own business, doing what I want to do every day. I work a lot. I work 14, 16, 18 hours a day, but I enjoy that. Well, not 16 because I got to get my sleep, but 14, 15 is pretty common for me. I can keep that pace 7 days a week because, some people like to listen to music. Some people like to read. I like to work on my business. That's what I'm passionate about. So I was looking to my wife. I was looking to my friends. I'm just going to focus on me and my wife for a second. I was like, hey, darling, I got this idea. I really want you to I really want you to support me. I'm crying out for your support. Like I'm not saying it that way, but that's what my actions are saying. She'll be like, oh, that's cool. Or she might be like, oh, I don't think that's for you. So for me, that's like
Mm-hmm.
a 5-year-old saying, what you mean I can't have cookies before dinner? You know, I'm having a meltdown inside because I'm still processing as an adult that I need your permission. I need your validation for me to do something for me.
Mm-hmm.
And whether I go to work a job every day or I have a business or whatever, as long as I'm, taking care of my adult responsibilities, I'm good. She good, we good, right? And my wife doesn't need that. She'll just be like, hey, I'm about to do this. Okay. I always support her. I always love her. I always believe in her. But she didn't need my validation. She didn't need my permission. And I was
Mm-hmm.
looking for that for so many years. And then one day I was in therapy. I was like, hey, my wife, she not understanding. And the therapist chatted, said, why do you need her permission to do that? Because it's my family. Did she say you couldn't? No, she said she believed in me. So, and that hit me like a ton of bricks of, oh, I'm processing this as a child would, saying, Mom, can I have cookies before dinner or after dinner? I'm an adult. I went to the store and bought my own cookies. Of course, I could eat them whenever I want. But it took me a long time to realize that that's how I was processing that. Instead of blaming her for not supporting me, it's for me to
Mm-hmm.
believe in me. It's for me to come up with a plan that says, hey, darling, I want to quit my job in 6 months. I have this much money saved up. I want to put this into our family account so our bills are taken care of. I'm going to run this down. If this doesn't work out, I'm fully prepared to run that down. Are you okay with that? Yeah. All right, cool. I'm going to go do it now. Because what I do need her permission on is, do you feel comfortable that our family will be fine? Not to go do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm giving her an option to say, I would like if you had 3 more months of savings. And because she loves me, she's going to say, oh, I can contribute to that. Or we can get a loan. Or we can leverage our credit. Instead of just saying, oh, it's going to be, I have to have all your support and you have to be my biggest cheerleader, or I'm just not going to do it and you don't love and support me. Now we're having a discussion around the actual things that we need each other's permission for. And it's not everything. It's just that, are we aligned with this plan on the critical things that affect our family and affect both of us? If so, proceed. If not, let's figure out what that should look like, and then we can do that together as well. Or sometimes it's just she might come and say, dog, I want to do this. I forget what it was. It was last year. She wanted to do something. And this is right after I learned how to set boundaries. And that was uncomfortable for us. I said, that's great. I support you, but I can't contribute any money to that right now. So as long as you feel great about it and you have a plan, you can show it to me, we good. She came to me a week later with a plan. I was like, cool, let's do it. And we know that if we reach this point, we either need to go get a job or we need to sell one of our properties or we need to liquidate this asset or we need to whatever, right? But it was clear. So when we got to those points where it's time to pull those handles, we were on the same page about how to proceed. But that was all from her being able to transition to a more healthy place with her boundaries and me being able to, like, here are my non-negotiables, but there's a whole lot of negotiables here outside of that.
Yeah, so it sounds like you all both develop emotional intelligence to a certain extent.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do
Like
you
she was going to therapy, I was going to therapy because that was causing a lot of friction in our relationship.
mm, when you all were both not going to therapy?
Or just not realizing that we had issues with setting healthy boundaries.
So would you say therapy helped you get self-awareness?
Yes.
Do you think that you had a level of self-awareness before therapy?
I think everyone has a certain level of self awareness for sure. It's just like I think that's a pretty complicated question. I don't I'm not saying I have an answer to it because I don't, but like you can be aware of something physically but have complete blind spot in the other areas of your life. So that doesn't mean that you
Hmm.
don't have self awareness. It just means you have a blind spot in an area of your life. And sometimes it's good to have those blind spots because it allows you to do things that you would convince yourself that you couldn't, when in reality you can.
Hmm.
But when that blind spot is not serving you, like for instance, I'm a super optimistic person, probably on like borderline delusional at times, but I'm okay with that because it serves me. Because I'm gonna be the person that says, "Hey, David, can we do this? Mm-hmm. How? Give me a minute." But it seems doable, right? I'm always gonna talk myself into why I can do something before why I can't. That's like, or I'll say 9 times out of 10. That's just my baseline, and that serves me.
Mm.
So it's good to have that. I don't want to change that blind spot because I want to talk myself out of any a lot. Like my life is the way it is because of that optimism and that kind of like blind. I'm gonna jump out there. It's gonna work out. I'm gonna do a certain amount of planning, but I'm cool with taking a certain amount of risk, probably more than most people. Um,
Hmm.
I think when we're talking about awareness, it's about really identifying. And this is advice I give to people all the time, and saying that okay, look at your cycles. Like your whole life is a cycle because we run off of habits. We run off of a paradigm that tells us stimuli, response, get in the loop, see it through until I see it again. Because it's like it's too hard to try to process everything. Like we just can't. We don't have enough mental horsepower to do that. So we got to run on autopilot most of the time. And there's a lot of literature on that. So just like Google that, and people will learn. But it's looking at your cycles and saying, okay, is this cycle serving me or is it not serving me? And here's where it gets tricky for myself and most people that I know is when you look at your cycle and you say, okay, every time I see this person, I go into a tailspin for whatever reason. Is that serving me or not serving me? And if it's not, you have to, people tell you got to change and work on that. I say you have to abandon that. That's the easiest way. Rip the band aid off and say, you know what? I'm not going to talk to you for 6 months because this ain't working. How you going to abandon me? Like this, and then you walk away and you go work on yourself. And then you can go back because maybe you don't have boundaries with that person. Maybe it's just something about your energy that feeds on each other in the wrong kind of way. And you just gotta, you can't work on that together because it's already like it's just not gonna work. It's like I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Like you can't take a gallon of gasoline and make a gallon of water out of it. It's just different things. So it's that way. You gotta say, I'm gonna take
I
my little gallon of gas over here. I'm gonna go put this in a car where it can be useful.
right.
Maybe later I can say, look, water, we can be friends, but I can't be you, you can't be me. But we can sit in containers next to each other and talk. We can't mix. We can't go into the same vehicle because it's not gonna work. Water goes in pools and I go in cars. So it's two different things. Nothing wrong with the car, nothing wrong with the pool, but it's not the same thing. We can't mix.
Hmm. Well, that is amazing. Okay, so I have a few questions that I have to ask.
Okay.
So, um, on your journey to this point, you've gone through your healing. You got to this place where you feel that you've the wholest you've ever been.
hmm
How do you manage your stress now? What does that look like?
Boundaries.
Stressful things.
It all goes back to boundaries.
Hmm.
So Is the stress, is it motivating or is it demotivating? And if I can answer that question, I know what to do. Now, it took me a long time to get to that point where I can ask that question. Like, I'll give you an example. Well, I'm at the beginning. I'm a pretty, like, before, even before the content creation boot camp where you and I met, right? I had a narrative running in my head that I'm a shy person. I'm not going to fit in there because no one wants to hear what I have to say. And I'm being serious. I was laying in bed one night and I told my wife, I think I'm going to go to this boot camp. She said, just go. I said, well, I'm so shy. I'm so quiet. People are not going to relate to me. She said, that's not true. Lots of people like you. Nah, that's not. Wait a minute. A lot of people do like me. I'm going to go. I had to stretch myself. But it wasn't debilitating. It was like I knew that if I get through this, I can defeat this narrative that's playing in my head and I can be a freer, happier person. Right?
Uh, Will Smith talks about when he jumped out of the helicopter, and just the bliss. Like, when he got up there and they opened the door and he was afraid. He was afraid. He was afraid. And then they said one, two, and they jumped on two. And then he said it was the best feeling ever. And he was afraid all of this time. But it was just, he was afraid of nothing. Like, it was a complete bliss. I, I relate to that. It sounds like you do too.
Well, there's a book I read not too long ago. I can't think of what it is. I'll share it with you so maybe we can put it in the comments or whatever
Hmm.
when this post. But it is that fear it exists only in our mind. There is
Hmm.
no fear in the real world, right? Nothing is afraid, it just is, except for what's going on in our minds. So we don't actually fear the thing, we fear the idea of doing the thing. We fear the idea of the thing, and it's not the thing. Now, the difference being is that when you have that fear, so a lot of us struggle with like a person, whoever it may be, a parent, a sibling, a friend, a coworker. You already know it's going to be hell when you get there. You have an experience. That's not fear anymore. That's that anxiety is because you already know it's about to happen. And you know at the end of that, you're going to feel bad. So if you can ask yourself, I'm feeling this tension. Is this just I'm afraid because I haven't done it or it makes me uncomfortable? It's a stretch for me and it's going to make me better? Or is he I already know what's going to happen? Then you can just tell yourself, no, I ain't doing that.
Okay, but when you say that, now I believe we got to tap into our spirits too. Like, I believe that on this journey, knowing ourselves is tapping into spirit. And so if we're doing that and we're practicing spiritual laws, we're living in the moment, or we're trying our best to live in each moment. And if we're doing that, then how can we live in the moment and, have already experienced something, had a bad situation, or something like that, but not be so attached that we don't, um, see it evolve, I guess. Whatever that experience is. Maybe somebody hurt us, um, and it's worth. Okay, so I feel like everyone is going to hurt you. You gotta know who's worth the pain, because people don't know essentially what's going to trigger you, what you've been through. So somebody is going to inadvertently upset you, but you got to figure out who's worth going through that. And so if you find out somebody that's worth going through that, but you've had this terrible experience, how do you know when to um, experience again and when to say no, no, that's just not for
So
me?
let me ask you this question. I think you'll answer it for yourself. How do you know that they're worth? How do you know that they're worth it? What are you looking at in them to let you know they're worth it? Objectively.
Um, for me, it's the energy, how people make me feel, and I observe people. So your intentions, if I can tell, or I can usually tell what your intentions are, and so if you make a mistake, that's different from, or just was not knowing or something, that's different from you maliciously trying to hurt me, or if I feel like like I'm being used, or something like that, it's a different energy that I feel.
So how many times do you give a person to have good intentions before you'll make a change?
So I'm kind of like you in that aspect where I'm still developing those boundaries. So right now my boundary is three chances. You know, I'll give you mess up and then I'll correct it. I'll give you a chance to mess up again because we're human. You know, if you are used to doing something in one way, then of course you're not just going to hard pause it unless it was a big blowout and now I've made some kind of small trauma around that. So you automatically know like, ooh, that's hot. I'm not even going to touch that subject. You know, if or else if it's like a behavior or um, a habit that you have and I'm kind of like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable, it may take you a few chances to correct that issue. So I give three chances and then I pull away.
Mm, okay. Well, for me, mine's a little bit different than that. So this is
What
just
do
my
you
own
do?
experience. People have a pattern that like emotion. If you can figure out how to take your emotions out of how you're viewing something, because our emotions tint everything that we see, and we are emotional people. We're all emotional. I'm emotional. You are. Everybody is. When you're looking at the person, I'm giving an example. I had a colleague that I was interacting with on a regular basis. I said, "Man, this is my friend. They treat me good, but everybody else in their life did them wrong, except for me, right? Because their intentions were good towards me, right? But the track record is there. It's just a matter of time before I do them wrong too in their mind, because that's their worldview. So once I hear
Mm-hmm.
that, I don't need to have a bunch of meetings with you. If I hear you talking about like defeatist talk all the time and it's always somebody else's fault, it lets me know where you're at. It doesn't make you a bad person, but it's not my responsibility to fix you, to evolve you. That's on you. And if
Right.
you happy, if you like it, as old people where I'm from say, if you like it, I love it. But I'm
Right, but
okay
that's my
with
point.
it.
If so, say you've dealt with that person and you know that they have this worldview, but then they've gone through some personal development. You know, they watch the podcast and they decide that they see things differently. So
Mm.
when do you allow them another chance to like be in your good graces to really
Oh, I
get
don't put you in my
you?
bad graces because I'm not assigning any emotional energy to it. It just is just a decision. I'm gonna
But
watch
when
you
do you
cultivate it.
allow them to get back into your personal space again?
When their track record has demonstrated that I can do that or that I want to do that. I might even want to. I'll tell people like, "Oh, I'm so glad that you've grown. I'm happy for you. Oh, we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna meet up for lunch. I don't know if we're gonna do that. Like, I'm. I don't feel any obligation anymore to say that we were at a place before and you've done work, and I'm truly happy for you. Like, I'm happy that you're feeling free, but I don't have to let you back in. Like, I don't have any obligation for that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's just where I'm at in my life. And maybe I'm jaded because of some experiences, but that's where I'm at right now. And I'm okay with that.
What motivates you? What
And what
motivates you to get the task done, to complete something that's difficult or a challenge?
control. So for me, like I need to feel in control of my destiny. And the only way I can control my destiny is to control the things I can control, and that's my behavior, my thought patterns, my interactions, all these choices that I have. Like I can't control 99% of what goes in my life. So I've learned to like today I had some things come up. Like I had my dad was having a medical emergency. My mom calls me. A few years ago I thought, oh, I'm stressed. I'm just gonna worry, and I felt that, but then I reminded myself that okay, there's nothing I can do about it. Whatever's happening is happening. I love him. I'm gonna pray for him. I'm gonna be there to answer the calls, and if there's anything I need to do now or afterwards, I'm gonna do that. But I don't have to attach all of my emotional energy to it in that moment because I can't control that. What I can control is getting on these IG lives and working on my business and trying to share my story. I can control getting on this podcast. I can control responding to my emails. So tonight, when I get ready to lay down, I can say all the things I could control, I could, and I'm motivated. I'm motivated by all those things I can control. And where I've run into trouble is when I'm assigning too much like physical and emotional energy to all these things that I can't control. Like I can. I can stress out, have anxiety. I can go binge drinking. I can smoke a pack of cigarettes. That's not going to change what my dad is going through right now. It's going to change what's going to happen to me tomorrow, but it's not going to change that situation. So I'm just not going to do that. So, he called me back a couple hours later. I did a couple lives. Oh, everything good. I just had to do this, good. I prayed for you. I don't have this. I'm going to mail you one on Amazon. It'll be there in 2 days because I can control that. Now, I can't control what he's going to do with it. I can't control if he's going to do what he's supposed to do, but I'm going to love him nonetheless. I just can't control what somebody else going to do. So
Mm-hmm.
if I go home and that thing I bought him is still in the box, I'm not going to be mad. I was going to say, well, at least you got it. So if you decide to use it, that's great. And if you need another one, let me know.
That's awesome. Do you feel like you are a black sheep?
Maybe ask that in a different way. I don't think I completely understand what you're asking me.
Do you feel like you are the okay, so I feel like every family has a black sheep or a person in their family that kind of ventures off and goes, you know, out in the world and is a seeker, is a person that's seeking information on the bigger picture of what's really going on. Do you feel like you're a black sheep in that aspect? You're a seeker?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm a seeker. I wouldn't classify myself as a black sheep. I don't feel lonely in any regard. I think there's a connotation with that says I feel lonely in that pursuit, but I don't. So
Mm,
yeah, I'm a seeker. Um, I've always known since I was a kid I was going to be doing this and be like not at home and doing something else, and just living my life. I always knew that. And my dad has like a really strong sense. I have two younger siblings of all of us, and he'll tell me I'm the oldest. He said, "Oh yeah, ever since you were like 5, you just had this infatuation with how success works." And I always knew
mhm,
that you were going to leave just because it's not for you. Your siblings, on the other hand, like they need a lot of support, they need comfort, they need this, they need that. So like they'll probably be here for a minute, and that's okay. He said, but also know that you're gonna support them and what they need, but it's gonna be from where you at. Like,
mhm.
you know, I'm struggling with this. Okay, what do you need? What's your cash app? I'll be there
What do you think
tomorrow.
makes you a seeker?
Huh?
Sorry. Do you think that there's something different in you that makes you a seeker versus your sibling?
I'm a big believer in birth order and what that does for your personality type. Like I have no control over that, so it's just like a different. I'm 10 years or 9 years older than my brother and 14 years older than my sister. So I'm really like their other parent in a lot of ways. I'm not their brother, so I'm responsible for them. And I was also an only child for 9 years, so I was already doing my own thing. So it's just like I have no control over that. So I can't say it's something different, but maybe it's nature, maybe it's nurture. I don't know the answer to that, but I am who I am,
Hmm.
and I get really uncomfortable. Like this may sound contradictory to what I said earlier. Like I like to chill, I like to relax, but I don't like to not make progress.
Hmm.
When I'm working, I'm working, and when I'm chilling, I'm chilling. But I have to make progress. Even if I'm having fun, I need to have fun in a different, better kind of way next time. I have to. If I made, I haven't done that yet. Let's say I make, no. Let me manifest this and affirm this properly. When I make 7 figures next year, I'm gonna celebrate that. But then the next year, I'm gonna be like, okay, how I make 8? Yeah, let me do that. Let me do that. Let me see what that's like. And it's not about like the money because but I'm a pretty simple guy. I live simple. I drive simple. I don't want anything too elaborate, but I feel great about making that progress.
Hmm. What what motivates you in the sense of getting to that?
The journey itself. I want to. Jeff Bezos. He has a saying. He calls it the regret reduction framework or something to that effect. And what that says is you want to lead a life, and this is just what resonates with me. It doesn't have to resonate with everybody else. Is that he said you want to lead a life that minimizes regret and doesn't minimize risk. So when he started Amazon, he was a successful corporate person, and his mentor was like, "Oh, don't do that. Jeff, you have a good job and you have all these things going for you. Why would you risk that?" He said, just sleep on it for a week and come back and let me know. Because he put it in his notice, "Hey, I'm going to go do this internet thing." This is in the early 90s. Like, internet wasn't popping like that at the time. So he said he went home and he said, I thought about it. He said, okay, um, would I regret staying in this job for the rest of my life? Yeah, I would regret that. Would I regret quitting my job and starting a company? Nope, I feel good about that. Will I regret quitting my job, starting this company, losing all my money, and having to start over? Because I can always go back to this job. Nope, I don't feel bad about that either. So it's like if you have a framework that allows you to simplify the decision, um, then I think that's good. So it's just like it's really just a journey for me now. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I went to my psychiatrist, so we meet like I went from having to go there like once a week to now we're down to just the once a year checkup. Like I'm super stable. And when I left my job, she said, "Okay, do we need to adjust your meds?" I said, "We need to wean them down because like I'm good. I feel at peace finally." Really, starting a business is stressful. I said, "No, going to work every day is stressful for me. Somebody tell me what to do is stressful. Not being able to control my income and saying I can add more value and modulate my income, that's stressful to me. This is easy to me." But that's just how I don't know why I'm wired that way. I just am. I've just always been like obsessed with understanding how this works. And the more I
Mm-hmm.
understand, that's where my fulfillment comes along. Is like you could come and ask me a question about so many business topics, and I have my perspective because of my lived experiences to say, I don't have all the answers, but this is what I did, and this is what worked for me, or this is what I did, and this what didn't work for me. But at least I know that now, and I feel great about that.
Well, I love it. So I have a few questions because I know that our viewers are going to be in a state or maybe in a state of like just trying to get themselves together, whether it's in business or in personal development. So I
Hmm.
want to ask three questions.
Okay.
I asked the first one already. How do you manage your stress? Um, the next one is how do you manage your finances?
Okay.
Um, and then how do you manage the organization?
Okay. So the second one, finances, is um, there's so many bits of information, and I've read a lot and I've watched a lot, but you got to find something that works for you. So this is what works for me. I decide what level of lifestyle brings me the most amount of comfort and value. Anything beyond that, I don't need and I don't want. So, you know, I may see someone driving a Lamborghini, but I really don't care about that. I'm not a car guy like that, and I'm also not a stunt guy like that. So my little, Nissan Rogue that works for me, but I want a really nice one. I want the one with all the bells and whistles. So once you decide, like, do I need the $5 million mansion, or am I cool with the suburban home? So for me, that's how it works. For me, I decide for my personal finances what is that threshold that allows me to live like the most value out of my life, and anything beyond that doesn't really add anything to my life, and anything beneath that causes me a lot of stress. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I know what that number is. I know what that looks like. So then anything else I do beyond that is I just need to pick the vehicle that allows me to do that with the least amount of stress. And then anything beyond that is like I need to be able to reach that easily with that vehicle. And anything after that is just a bonus that allows me to do other things that I find more worthwhile, like starting a business or being able to be doing interviews for 4 hours today, because my income is not tied to my time. It's tied to things I did 6 months ago. So I'm gonna get paid
Mm.
tomorrow regardless, and it's gonna cover my lifestyle. And then from an organization standpoint, this is actually, I'm going through something with that now. Um, I'm good at motivating people. I'm good at managing existing teams, but I don't consider myself to be a strong judge of like character in interviews and like just knowing who you are from that. I struggle with that in my career, and I still identify with it. Even though I'm a different person now, I still identify with it. I'm aware of it. I'm working through it. So what I did today is I met a lady through one of the events that you and I have been at. She
Mm-hmm.
has a virtual assistant business, so she's going to help me be a bring virtual assistants and integrate those into my business. So from an organization standpoint, there was a book I read a couple of months ago, Who Not How, by Dan Sullivan. Yep. So reading that book, I know how to do a lot of things, but I never stopped to ask myself who can help me do it or who can do something better than me. So now that I'm starting to ask myself when I want to do something, who can help me do this? I like
Mm-hmm.
podcasting, right? We were at the content creation. I'm signing up for the Launch Your Podcast Challenge. You know what? Maybe this is your thing. Maybe I should just contribute to your thing on a somewhat regular basis because you're the who that's going to be better at that than I am. Because I think it's interesting to get the stories out, I got other things like I need to be doing that I find more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Like pushing my IG is enough for me. I enjoy that. I don't know if I can do a podcast on top of that. And I'm going crazy on IG. Y'all go check me out.
Yes, you are.
Yeah,
We love it. Yeah, come on, let's partner. I'm ready.
let's do it. And I enjoy our conversations. Or maybe they're more soliloquies because I know I can run my mouth a lot. But I appreciate you listening and
Yes.
asking very thought provoking questions.
Well, I'm glad you like them. We got to get up in there because processing, being able to just really think about what we're doing is really a passion of mine. I see, like, like David says, or like you were saying earlier, just being on autopilot, sleepers for suckers. That's very, very common. But we have an animalistic brain and a human brain. Like, we need to tap into that. Can't see this hand, but we need to tap into that human brain more. Like, and it's a manual thing. It's developing those skills. So I just appreciate you
Say
talking
that
about how
last
you
bit
did
again
that.
louder for the people in the back.
What, developing those skills?
Those two minds. Say that louder again for the people in the back.
Yes, we really have four brains, but we use two of
Oh,
them.
well,
The
encourage me. I want to know about the other two too. Say that louder for me.
we have, okay, so just over, I don't know all the details, but all over it's neuroscience, which is super interesting to me. And so I think I have a book somewhere around here, but um it's we have four brains. Two of them are like a reptile brain, and something they are four other parts of the brain. But then our main brains is the animalistic brain, which is like where our emotions are, which is why we're irrational when we get emotional. And then we have that human brain, which is where we plan for the future, goal setting, and you know, you can kind of see it where if somebody hasn't developed that human brain, they aren't making those plans, they aren't able to write out goals and goal setting and see the future. They just live in the right now and they don't know about tomorrow.
Right.
And so I just want to create a place where we are constantly having thought-provoking conversations and we can develop that human brain. So I
This is
appreciate
where
it.
we come to become humans at.
Yes,
Oh
okay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You
we was
lit.
here
You
with
lit.
it.
You lit. You lit. I like that.
Yes. See, now we gotta find a title for this. Where we become humans at? Like that's the one right there.
There you go. Let me get 5%.
Let me go ahead and get my trademarks together.
Let me go get
No,
that
I
domain real quick.
appreciate you. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. No, I'm just so excited. This is the first interview. We got to keep this going though because I think that I want to just bring people to you. I want people to see you because you're in a space where you're blossoming, and I can just see where your business is about to go. And you about to launch the coaching, like I can just see where your growth is about to go. And for people to see you here and see you now, you're showing them that it's possible.
For sure. Well, thank you so much. And I
Thank
want to thank you
you.
for the opportunity to be guest number one. And I want to thank you for all the time today, the great questions, the ability just to have this very, I think, frank conversation that a lot of people are afraid to have, and especially in our community, a lot of times around mental health, as cliche as that sounds, but it's just that important. What goes on in our minds sets up what happens outside our minds. It all starts in somebody's mind. Everything we see started in somebody's mind. Everything.
You can't end it off no better than that. Thank you so much. Make sure y'all subscribe.
Yeah, yeah. Hit that Ford Jones. Y'all see the IG down there. Y'all see
Yeah, tell them where they can find you.
it on IG. Shoot me a DM. Hit my link in bio. You'll find me over there. But go to IG for sure.
All right. Well, thank you again. Um, I know there's probably more, but this is the first one, so we just want to make sure that everybody subscribes, everybody know who you are, Forward Jones, and we are out.
That's it. Y'all have
Peace
a
and
great day. Thank
healing.
you so much. Peace and healing.
Thank you.